Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Impala News Network. I'm your host, Trisha O'Donnellson. Welcome. Did I already say that? Well, welcome. I feel like I'm starting to say too many welcomes. Welcome back to episode 15 of Benny on the Beat. That's right. Of course, the ongoing video series where we talk about cop stuff, because I'm a cop. I'm Trisha O'Donnellson. FuzzFam is a cop. The ongoing video series where half the time I don't know what I'm talking about or what I'm doing. You know what? Let's go right into the update on FuzzFam's 2012 Chevy Impala. Of course, if you're new here, try to keep up. It's going to be confusing at first, but you'll get filled in quickly. In fact, we had some comments. Nikki Thompson, I give it 2 days until you break the Impala again. So excited for Benny on the Beat. I was having withdrawals. Well, Nikki, I got some news for you, okay? All right, and some of you guys probably already know this, follow us on our other social media platforms, but it wasn't 2 days. It wasn't even 1 day. It was the day that we uploaded that video. The air conditioner broke on it on the day that I went to work after the morning of filming that last episode. So how about today, the day that I'm actually filming this? The Impala status, as of right now at least, is once again up. It is working as of today. However, if history is any pattern, I go back to work today and it'll most likely break. And you know what, guys? I'm getting a little sick of this. The Impala Curse, as we have come to call it, is a real thing. If you watched our YouTube video from this last week, you saw that we went to a theme park and I rode a roller coaster, and apparently the roller coaster broke right after I rode it. And after that, the power went out in the entire theme park. Coincidence? Probably. But is there a possibility the Impala Curse has followed me and is infecting every system, every aspect of my life? Additional evidence to that fact, I was mowing my parents' lawn this week. I have a very nice lawnmower. I invested in the Bentley of push lawnmowers, and that of course is the Honda with hydrostatic drive. And it works flawlessly. At least it did until this week. With absolutely no warning. No provocation, no reason whatsoever for that to happen. It just falls off. You tell me. I think I'm cursed. All right, we got way off track there. So if you are new here, welcome. We hope you will want to stay and you do not get too scared away of the randomness and weirdness and sometimes confusing flow of the videos. We are going to get to my week on the job and talk about stories from the job, but an important part of these videos is a recap and a review of some of your comments from last week's video. I like to interact with the community, you guys. I've already looked at a couple that had to do with my car, but we're gonna get into some other ones right now and look at them. But first, since we are reporting as Trisha O'Donnellson today on Impala News, it's important that we go to the Turd Blossom for an update on the weather.
I hope you get struck by lightning.
Thank you, Michael, for that. Thank you very much. Let's just keep moving. Scott Widenya said, when was the last time you had to use a taser? Oh, interesting question. How did you know? We actually had an incident with a taser this week. We're gonna talk about it. So hang on to that question, and the answer is this last week. Video Media TV, do you have to pay for your own gas for your patrol car, and how does that work? Video Media TV, I guess in the form of taxes, which I pay. In a roundabout way, I pay for the fuel in the police cars, but you're probably asking, do I put in my own personal credit card at the gas pumps and pay for the gas that goes into my police car? The answer is no, we don't do that. We have a city shops where we can go and fuel up our cars, just like the fire trucks and the city street sweepers and garbage trucks and everything like that. There have been a few times where I've almost run out of gas. I didn't realize I was low and I didn't want to run out of gas on the freeway. I mean, can you imagine a state trooper having to come and rescue me?
I don't think so.
So I've dropped a few bucks of my own, gone to a gas station so that doesn't happen, but for the most part, no, that's how that works. Savage Turtle, if you were to get pulled over for some reason, I know you wouldn't though. Yeah, Yes, I would never get pulled over. Would you have the right to get out of your car? Well, first of all, Savage Turtle, let me just tell you, I would get pulled over. It has happened. I've been pulled over since I've been a police officer. We all make mistakes, and I've made some. I've been pulled over before. As far as the right to get out of the car, I don't know whether or not you could say you have a right to, but I'm gonna tell you it's not a good idea. It's never a good idea to get out of the car when you're pulled over. It's alarming to the police officers. We expect to come up to the window and come talk to you there. When you hop right out of the car, there's a lot of videos of people that get out to shoot at or assault police officers, and that's what they do, is hop right out of the car, and it makes us really nervous. We're wondering what your intentions are. It's not a good thing. Just stay in the car. We will come to you. Wayne Bradford, quick question. Ben, if an off-duty cop has to get involved in, say, a robbery and ends up shooting the criminal, will the cop face murder charges or other charges? P.S. Keep up the good work, pal. Well, thank you, Wayne. Appreciate that. And you know what? It all depends on the circumstances. Whether you're a cop, off-duty cop, or not a cop, if you shoot a robbery suspect, it has to be justified by law. Just because they robbed somebody doesn't necessarily mean that you can legally shoot and kill them. It has to meet all the elements of whatever state you happen to live in or whatever country. I think I get the gist of your general question though, and the answer is no. It doesn't matter if you're off duty or not. If you have to stop somebody with deadly force that is going to hurt other people or yourself, if your life is in danger, it's okay to use deadly force. You're not going to be charged as a murderer. But again, it really depends on the circumstances and the facts of, you know, what you're talking about. Let's just say CO. I'm definitely going to mispronounce that name. 2 random questions. Would you prefer Roundabouts to Crossroads? Did I just say Crossroads?
Yep.
Pretty sure I did. Would you... Oh my gosh. Would you prefer Roundabouts to Crossroads? I think I'm okay now. And when you call the police off duty, would you identify yourself as an off-duty cop? I've heard more random questions than that. I gotta say, I'd probably prefer Roundabouts. I think they're safer, they're easier to navigate, and to be honest, I feel like a NASCAR driver sometimes when I whip around those roundabouts at a safe speed within the speed limit. But the centrifugal, I believe it's called, force of the roundabout, sometimes I just keep going. Anyway, I like roundabouts. And if I call the police off duty, I wouldn't automatically identify myself as an off-duty cop unless it was necessary. I haven't had to do that before, but I wouldn't just automatically do it just so they know. But if there's a reason to, I would. Andy Williams, happy 4th of July FuzzFam? Is that a typo? Andy, are you trying to tell me something? Am I fussy? Do I fuss about stuff? There's 2 S's there. 1 would be a typo. 2 is intent. Andy, I want to know what you're getting at. I got my eye on you. I'm gonna be watching. Carter Fagate. Hey Ben, do you know if there is a difference between a police interceptor vehicle and a regular car? Yes, there is. I just don't know what all the differences are. I think in general, the police interceptor package on cars has some modified braking, some enhanced braking, and some modified suspension. I know we don't get like supercharged, way faster engines than a stock car or anything like that. I think it's just braking and suspension that's a little bit different, and some electrical stuff that's been added to help with all the overhead lights and stuff. I think that's really the only difference. Ryan Zaman, what if a tourist wants to chat with a police officer and wants to take selfies with them, like in McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts? Love your videos. You got a nice career. Love from Bangladesh. Freaking Bangladesh, that's what's up. Yeah, Ryan, it's happened before, not very often, but I've had a few people, I don't know if they were tourists or not, but they wanted a picture, and I'm happy to oblige with that. I usually ask them to like tag me or something so that I can see the picture. As a matter of fact, I have one of these. I completely forgot about this. Check this picture out. So this was at a birthday party. We got called to a noise complaint on the roof of an apartment complex, and the girl on the right of me, the black girl, she was turning 21. It was her birthday party. So we roll up, we get in there, and of course a few people start leaving right away, like crap, the cops are here. And all I did was went over to the DJ booth and asked if I could check out the equipment. If you guys didn't know, I'm a part-time DJ. I have a business on the side where I do this stuff for school dances and corporate events and stuff like that. So I wanted to see what kind of equipment they were running, and they had some nice equipment. So I went into the booth and started messing with the controls, and everyone was loving it. They were taking pictures. This went on a whole bunch of Instagram accounts, and I got them to tag me in it. So anyway, that's one of my favorite pictures of this type that you're talking about. So we don't have any problem doing it, given the right time and circumstances and all that kind of stuff. Ruby! Hey, Ruby's been on the channel a long time. What's up, Ruby? Awesome video as always. Why does your hair always look so good? It does look good, doesn't it?
Oh, he is so delusional.
All right, we better get going on the recap of the calls. I appreciate you guys leaving the comments and the question. It's really, honestly, my favorite part of this is talking to you guys and responding to the comments. I know we can't get to all of them. We get to as many as we can, but please keep leaving them, and we'll keep trying to respond to many of those as possible. Guys, this week on the job was a little bit nuts. Things got crazy. I think it's the heat. It's been hot in Utah, where I work, and I think that's having an effect on people. So the first call I want to tell you guys about, this was a call of a guy that was at his apartment complex scaring the crap out of all the people that live there. But the person that called 911 was sitting in his apartment minding his own business when all of a sudden someone knocked on the door really, really loud. He went and answered it, and it was this other guy that lives at the complex. He was holding a big stick, and he started accusing him of following him, threatening him, and wanting to kill him, and asked him to come outside to go fight him, like out in the parking lot. The guy's like, what? I don't even know you. I know you live here. I've seen you before, but what are you even talking about? And he just would not let up. He kept threatening to beat him up and told him to come out to the parking lot. He ended up taking the stick and hitting his door with it, knocking off the numbers to his apartment, which were on the door. Guy thought that after he shut the door, he was going to break it down and come in and beat him up with the stick. So as we're on our way, we start getting other calls from people in the complex saying that this guy is prowling around with the stick, looking like he's just waiting to kill somebody. So we get there, and at first we don't find him. We talk to the person that called. They said he last walked down the hallway. They didn't know where he went from there. And as we were walking down to check another floor, this guy walks into the building. He meets the description. He doesn't have the stick anymore, but he matches the description. So we asked him to go outside and talk to him in the front of the building. At first, he's fairly compliant and just wondering what we're there for. And we start explaining it to him, and the attitude is on like that. He's obviously under the influence of something, seems to be having a little bit of paranoid delusions, and just very, very difficult to speak with. That is one of the aspects of this job, you know, dealing with mental health issues. It's so prevalent these days. So many people are dealing with things like this, and especially when it gets compounded with drug use that just makes everything worse. It's one of the things you got to deal with as a cop. If you're thinking about getting into this job, you got to think about these type of scenarios and just know that you're going to be in them and you've got to solve them. So anyway, we try our best just to talk to him and try to de-escalate, keep him calm, and explain why we're there. It gets to the point, though, unfortunately, where he just says, I'm not talking to you guys. I didn't do anything wrong. And he gets up like he's going to walk away. And I tell him right off the bat, we take it from de-escalation and nice to a little bit more forceful and tell him, no, you're not going anywhere. Listen, you are detained. We're investigating a report of a crime. You're not free to leave. I think he used some choice language, called me some names, and said I am free to leave, and started to walk away. And I was with 3 other officers. There were 4 of us at this point, so I closed the gap really quickly to him and went to grab his arms, and the fight was on. He reared back with his arm like he was going to punch me. I hurried and closed the gap between me and him so that he didn't have any leverage to be able to swing at me. I think he tried to punch, but it went by me and didn't connect, and we hurried and grabbed him and just dropped to the ground. I think I got him in kind of a half semi-headlock or something and just dropped my weight to get him to the ground. And we wrestled with him for a minute to get his hands out from under him. It didn't take very long. We were able to safely get him into custody. He wasn't injured at all. I didn't notice until the end of the day, and especially by the next morning, that I had some pain. I actually had a hurt elbow. I had jacked my wrist, my left wrist somehow, and my knee was killing me. Nothing major, but tweaked some things, you know, and I didn't even realize when I was on scene. A lot of times that's how it works, the adrenaline or whatever. Anyway, we got this guy taken up to the hospital to get some help. We didn't even charge him with any crimes, even though we probably could have. We just wanted him to get up and get the evaluation help that he needed. So after I went up to the hospital and got the paperwork filled out on him, I cleared the call, went back to our police station where I have kind of a secure facility, or I don't have to worry about people sneaking up on me, and I worked on the report. I mentioned the report because, believe it or not, a lot of you guys are curious about the reports, things that I don't even think about that are boring and not worth talking about. A lot of you want me to talk about, so I'm just going to mention it on one of the calls at least. I got back to the police station. I started on the report. In our department, we have a separate program that I pull up on my computer. It's a different program than our CAD, or the program that shows us our call information and stuff like that. So I pull up this program and I start auto-filling information, like, you know, all of his person's information. There's a screen for that. There's different screens for the basic call information, the address, the date, the time, the location. We have another screen where we can list the offenses, the type of call we're dealing with. And then we have a screen for entities where we put people, businesses, things like that. So I list him as a person. After all of that stuff is entered, there's a spot to go in and actually just type a story or a narrative. You go in and type your report. That's what you commonly think of when you think of a police report. My reports are broken down kind of chronologically, and I have headings for paragraphs. And so I usually start with a synopsis, give a basic overview of what the case was about and what action we took. Then I go down to dispatch and give the information about why we were sent there, arrival, what happened when we got there, contact with this person, what happened, action taken, and then ending or conclusion. That's kind of a rough outline of what I do on a report. It's so weird to go into that kind of detail. To me, it seems super, super boring, and for some of you, it probably is, but I'm telling you, a lot of you guys want to know about those kind of details, so hopefully some of you got something out of that. So that was that call. On to another one. I mentioned at the beginning that we had a Taser incident. So I worked an overtime shift at one of our Walmarts in the city that I work, and it's a busy Walmart. There's a lot of theft, a lot of problems there, and that's why they have police officers that moonlight as security, supplementing the security they have in their store. It's a decent part-time job, but it's depressing. Like, it's not the nicest Walmart, and they don't have always the nicest clientele. I mean, we're talking about Walmart anyway, right? But this is like a Walmart kind of in the ghetto a little bit. So I worked this overtime shift, and I finished it and was excited to leave. I went home, got a quick bite to eat, came back to work, and started my shift. And not too many hours into my shift, there is a call that comes out of a guy barricaded in the bathroom at this Walmart with a knife, threatening to kill himself. And oh, by the way, he also says that he has a gun and a knife. So there's other officers there working their part-time shifts that are there to handle that. But you know, a barricaded guy with a knife and a gun, they're gonna need some more help. So they put it out there, and other officers were assigned to go. I did not want to go because I'd already been to Walmart that morning. I'd already done my time, in a manner of speaking, and I didn't want to go back. And it just started escalating. It sounded like it was getting worse, so they asked for one more unit, and I could see on the computer screen that I was the only available unit. So I knew it was coming. Sure enough, they called my Sure enough, they called my number, and I was on my way down to the Walmart. So we get there, and I meet up with the other officers that are on scene. They happen to be two sergeants, as it would be. They were the two officers working the overtime shift. So two sergeants. They're in the bathroom. No one else is there. They've closed down the area outside the bathroom, and they're having a dialogue with this guy. And it doesn't sound like it's going very well. He's being confrontational, aggressive, swearing and yelling at the officers. Fortunately, at this point, they'd actually gotten him to throw the knife away. So he didn't have the knife anymore, and there was blood all over the bathroom floor. You can tell he'd cut himself pretty good because he was freely bleeding, and it was a pool that was just getting bigger and bigger in the bathroom. He did say that he still had a gun, and at one point he actually threw open the door, and he had his hand like this in his shirt, and he was pointing it like this. And what he did, and this is not something you want to do when you're dealing with the police, he hurried as quickly as he could. He brought his hand out from under his shirt and brought it up like this with his fingers and started going like this. And he made some kind of a click noise like he was pulling a trigger. Fortunately, we were able to discern really quickly that he didn't have a gun, and nobody made that decision to shoot him. So after that didn't work for him, the guy shut the door again. We decided to take some action, and we rushed the stall. The officer in front kicked the door, which hit him and knocked him into the wall. And then as it came back, when we could see him again, he was visible there. Another officer hit him with the taser. Last thing we wanted him to do was to go back into his pockets. There is still a chance he could have a gun. So we wanted to immobilize him as quickly as possible. So they hit him with the taser. It had a good connection. It locked him up, made it so he couldn't move his hands or arms. Fell to the ground, and we were able to safely get him into handcuffs. EMTs came in, got him bandaged up, and I ended up following the ambulance up to the hospital and filled out all the paperwork to get him some psychiatric evaluation. And unfortunately, whoever the newest guy was at Walmart, the new stalker boy, whoever, they had to go in and clean up all the blood in the bathroom. That's just, man, it's too bad. Okay, just a few more because the video's starting to get long. So we had another kind of crazy one, not kind of, like super crazy. We got a report of a guy that had taken a rock and just thrown it through the window of a nail salon. And as we're headed up there, they're giving us some updates that he's still in there rummaging around. Like, he's not grabbing stuff and leaving, he's still there. I think there's 4 of us on our way up there, and one guy got there first. I got there shortly after him, so he was waiting for me to get there on one corner of the business, and I came from the other corner, and we approached and started walking towards it. We could see the glass on the ground that was broken out from the window. I could hear something inside, so I had my gun out at that point, and I'm kind of cutting the corner, cutting the pie, and I get to where I see a shadow in the front of the store, and I see the guy, and he matches the description that was given to dispatch, and he's holding a big stick. No, not another. Why, people? So I started giving him commands, announced that we were the police, told him to drop the stick. Fortunately, he was perfectly compliant. He did exactly what we asked him to do. He kept his hands up. He stepped out of the business. We got him on the ground, and we got him into handcuffs. This guy was high out of his mind. He'd been on a meth binge, just got out of the hospital. I don't know what he was at the hospital for, but the hospital let him go. He hadn't slept for like 4 days, and it turns out the reason he did what he did, he said there were people following him that wanted to kill him. So he knew to get us there to help him, the best way to do that, of course, was to take a rock and throw it through a business window. He was hoping that an alarm would go off.
It makes perfect sense.
So I went inside and cleared the business, checked around. I found no evidence that he had touched anything in the store. There was no indication he tried to take cash or messed with any of the merchandise. He had just broken another light that was in the ceiling, like he was upset at the light, so he threw his rock at it. Could get into an interesting legal discussion here about what charges to get him on. Most people would say right off the bat, burglary. So we ended up deciding the appropriate charges on him, got him in the back of a car, and he was on his way to jail. It got weirder from there because we started realizing there were other calls of a suspicious person in the area that we didn't realize at first were related. Ended up finding that this was the same guy that was the suspect in these other cases. One of those cases was a mom that had been walking with her 4 or 5-year-old kid down the sidewalk when this guy came up behind them and started scaring the crap out of them and following them. And I guess the kid was a little ways away from the parent, but he came up behind the kid and was kind of lumbering behind him in his half drunken high state. And they said at one point he fell forward, kind of like maybe he was going to trip, and he put out his arms, and they thought it looked like maybe he was going to try to grab the kid. And the kid like ran away, and the mom went and got the kid, and then they veered off, and he veered off, and eventually ended up going to where he broke the window of the business. We ended up looking at the possibility of like attempted kidnapping stuff just because of what he had done with the kid. So we had to call the officer who was taking him to jail and have him come back up and do a positive ID on him and stuff like that. And he ended up fighting with the officer on the way back. He tried to kick out the window of the police car. He spit on the officer that was driving. When he got back up to where we were for the positive ID, he just continued to just thrash and fight, and just the total opposite of how he was when I had dealt with him, because he was pretty compliant. Just a nightmare. We finally got him in the back of the car and off to jail, and he ended up fighting with the people at the jail. Right after I finished with that call, I was headed back to the station to do another report, and I pulled up next to this car. It's a van right next to me, and it's got 2 or 3 guys in it, and I had my window rolled down just a little bit. I look over at this guy, and I kid you not, he's got a joint, and he is lighting up the joint. I know what a joint looks like, people. I know what a joint looks like. And I'm just sitting here in my marked police car, like literally we're like 3 feet away from each other. And I'm just looking at him like, I can't wait till he looks over. All I could figure was he was already high, but they did not even notice me. They didn't even look to the left or to the right. They were just looking forward or pay attention to what was going on in their car. Unfortunately, I noticed I didn't have my body camera on yet. I'd forgotten it at the station, and I was actually on my way back. That's part of what I was going to do, was to get the body camera. And I made the decision just not to do the traffic stop. I didn't even want to risk for marijuana. I didn't even want to risk doing a stop where I would now be out of policy, and heaven forbid something happened on that stop and I didn't have my body camera. I made the decision not to do it. So I didn't get that satisfaction of pulling him over and having him realize, you idiots, you didn't even like look to see who was next to you, and you lit up right in front of a cop. All right, people, I think that's the longest Benny on the Beat video we've ever had. If you're one of the hardcore ones that watch every minute of these, thank you for sticking with it. Crazy week, a lot of stuff going on, and that was just a small portion of it. You guys know I don't tell you everything that happens at work. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been real. I'm Trisha O'Donnellson with Impala News. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.
'Cause I'm at my prime. Yeah. I'm at my. Whoa. Said I'm at my prime.
FuzzFam. Really? FuzzFam? Who says I'm fussy?